Look at that. I'm Mark Matsumoto and welcome to my Tokyo kitchen. Today I want to show you all of my secrets to cooking juicy chicken breast. And then we're going to glaze it in a beautiful honey teriyaki sauce. It's an easy weeknight fix that's packed with flavor. So let's start with a look at our ingredients. The first thing you'll need is a chicken breast. I prefer it with the skin on, which I'll explain later, but you could also do this with a skinless breast or thigh meat as well. To season and fry the chicken, I've got a tablespoon of sake, a small knob of ginger, 2 teaspoons of potato starch, a half teaspoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of vegetable oil. For the honey teriyaki sauce, I've got 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce for the salt, 1.5 tablespoons of honey for the sweetness, and 1.5 tablespoons of sake, which will bring the umami. The first thing I'm going to do is trim the chicken breast, removing any gristle, blood vessels, or excess fat. You can look for this connective tissue and fat between the muscles and the breast. You'll want to leave as much of the skin intact as possible though, because this is going to act like a diffuser between the chicken and the hot pan, keeping the meat from getting tough and stringy. Once the chicken is all trimmed up, flip it so the meat side is facing up. As you can see, one side is thicker than the other, so I'm going to use the back of my knife to pound the thicker side a little flatter. You don't need to get it perfectly flat, but the goal here is to get it more level so the meat cooks through more evenly. As you can see, it's looking much more level now, so the last thing I'm going to do is stretch the skin out so it's covering as much of the meat as possible. Now I'm going to transfer this to a small tray and we're going to make our marinade. I'm going to grate the ginger into a small bowl. Teriyaki literally means glossy grilled in Japanese, so we want to avoid adding ingredients to our sauce that's going to cloud it. By marinating the chicken with the ginger, we can not only add its flavor to the chicken, it helps tenderize the meat thanks to a proteolytic enzyme called zingiberine. Next, I'm going to add a tablespoon of sake, 2 teaspoons of potato starch, and a half teaspoon of salt before mixing this all together. The sake adds umami to the chicken, while the starch is going to create a coating that helps the chicken breast hold onto its juices as it cooks. Now I'm going to pour half of the marinade onto the skin side of our prepared chicken breast, spreading it around to make sure it's coated evenly. Then I'm going to flip it over and pour on the rest of the marinade on the meat side. Be sure to get all of that starch out of the bowl and onto the meat in an even layer. Now I'm going to let this marinate at room temperature for 30 minutes. You could also prep this ahead of time and refrigerate it for a day or two, but you'll want to let it come up to room temperature either way. While we wait for that, I'm going to prepare the honey teriyaki sauce by adding equal parts soy sauce, sake, and honey to a bowl. Honey isn't a traditional addition to teriyaki sauce, but I like the flavor that it adds when I'm doing breasts. You could also use brown sugar or maple syrup. Alright, let's stir this together so the honey doesn't settle. And you should end up with a lightly thickened sauce like this. Next, we're gonna pan fry our chicken breast, and I like starting with a cold pan with some oil in it. Then I'm gonna let the excess marinade drip off the chicken and place it skin side down into the oil. Scooch it around a bit to ensure you have even oil coverage, and then turn the heat on to medium-low. The two tricks that I want you to remember here are that we've brought the chicken up to room temperature, and we're starting with a room temperature pan. By starting the chicken closer to our target temperature and heating it gently, we minimize the temperature gradient between the outside and inside of the meat. In other words, we get juicy chicken that's cooked through evenly. Although we've got a lot of oil in the pan, you can see it's not spattering excessively, and we have a nice gentle sizzle going on. Adjust your heat up or down so it looks like this. To ensure the skin is browning evenly, lift it up periodically and check for pale areas. Then you can just press down on those areas that are pale to ensure you're getting good contact with the pan. While we wait for that to brown, I want to thank all of you who've signed up for my weekly recipes over at marksrecipes.com. It's full of easy weeknight meals like this spicy pan-grilled curry chicken, these juicy 5-spice glazed pork chops, and this crispy skinned coriander chicken. I've added hundreds of my best recipes over there, and there's a new one every week, so go check it out. All right, let's get back to our teriyaki chicken breast. Okay, as you can see, the chicken is cooked about halfway through, so it's time to flip this over. Oh, look at that! The skin is nice and crisp, but the meat underneath is still plump and juicy. On this side, you want to focus your pressing on the thicker part of the breast so you don't overcook the thinner side. Now I'm gonna pan fry our chicken on this side for another 4 minutes, or until you get to an internal temperature of about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. This is looking good, so I'm gonna use a folded up paper towel to soak up all of the excess oil. This oil has done its job, and by removing it, we can keep our sauce nice and glossy. Now let's glaze our juicy chicken breast with the honey teriyaki sauce. Turn up the heat to high once you've added the sauce, and flip the chicken over repeatedly to build up the glaze. This is also gonna finish cooking our chicken. Once the teriyaki sauce starts forming big shiny bubbles like this, use a spoon to baste the glaze on top of the breast. And our juicy chicken breast with honey teriyaki sauce is done! Beautiful, isn't it? Let's see what it looks like on the inside. Ooh, that's hot, but just look at how plump and juicy the chicken is. Now we just need to slice this up to serve. Then I'm gonna drizzle on our extra honey teriyaki sauce, and our honey glazed chicken teriyaki is ready to eat. Words can't describe just how good this smells, so I think I'm just gonna have to show you. Itadakimasu. Oh man, it's so juicy. It's just glistening with juices that are dripping down with that beautiful teriyaki sauce. So the moment you bite into it, it just gushes out a flood of umami-rich chicken juices. And you have that beautiful, savory, sweet teriyaki glaze on the outside that just takes the level of umami up to 10. I also love how that ginger adds a nice warm heat to it. And because we added that potato starch to the marinade, it prevented all those juices from leaking out. This chicken breast teriyaki is super juicy and easy to make, so I hope you'll give it a try. Well, I'm gonna have the rest of this juicy chicken breast over a bowl of rice with some of that extra teriyaki sauce drizzled on top. But check out this playlist for all of my favorite chicken recipes. And I'll catch you in the next one.